Good day, viewers. You're welcome to another episode of The Current. I'm your host, Frida Okiria is my name. On today's program, we'll be talking on a very sensitive issue which is right now all over, everywhere. There's been a lot of deliberations, a lot of reactions. We've been expecting the federal government to speak. We've not gotten any reaction yet. But hopefully, we hope that we would hear from them as soon as possible. The 13 billion naira recovered, the loot, the question is who is the owner or who are the owner, because it's huge. We don't want to believe that it's owned by one man. And with me to discuss this very sensitive topic is Dr. Damian Ogbonna, who is the chairman, People's Progressive Party. So you're welcome to this program.
Thank you very much.
And also alongside with him is Honorable Ebenezer Oyetake. So you're welcome to this program.
Thank you.
You know, the question, there have been too many sides of this issue, but the question is, who is the owner of that flat? Why is such a huge amount found in such flat in Lagos? Let me start with you, Mr. Damian.
Well, all we can say is what we see in reports. Apparently, that entire building was previously owned by a former PDP chairman, Mauzo, apparently. And so somewhere along the road, he sold it. Many claim that from reports that he sold it to the current Minister of Transport, Amaechi. Amaechi himself, not himself, but his surrogate on record as having said that house does not belong to him. That is his surrogate, not him himself. He's been pretty much silent on this issue as well. And so you start from there. But it's not a matter of who owns the building, because the building, you may own a building, but the building is leased out. Various people own apartments in the building. The most important thing is who owns that apartment. Is that apartment number 7, apartment number 8, I think 7B or something. Who owns that apartment 7B is a mystery. Now, how the owner of an apartment can be a mystery beats my imagination, because to own an apartment, you have to at least sign a rental agreement, a lease agreement. Ought to be somewhere. There were agents who handle these things, and it's amazing to me that, you know, a matter as mundane as who owns an apartment, even EFCC cannot tell us. Now, that is why I believe seriously that this has to do with corruption in the very most high places in government. Because if these were ordinary citizens like myself, who leases or rents an apartment somewhere, and EFCC invests that apartment, I'll be cooling my heels out in the EFCC gallows as we speak. They will know that I am the renter and not the person who leased the place. They will know, and they will come after me, and they will pick me up, and they will put me in their gallows. That's what would have happened. Now, the reason why they are so secretive about who actually owns this rental apartment, who rented it, the only reason, the only conclusion you can make here is that the government knows these people. They have to know these people. It doesn't require rocket science to know who signed the lease agreement. They have to know these people. The only reason we are not getting this information is because these are not the kind of people they can arrest. And of course, if they are not the kind of people they can arrest, obviously they are very high ups in government. So we are looking at a government itself that is stealing public money that it is supposed to guard against. And this is really the fundamentals. This is what is underneath this entire thing. And 15 billion is a lot of money.
The governor of Rivers State had come out to say that part of that money belongs to the state, because some money during the tenure of Amaechi, the now Minister of Transport, was missing under his watch. Now, the question here is, if even as well as Ayo Fayose, the governor of the said the 7B particularly, the building is owned by Amaechi, but that 7B was not leased out to anybody. Do you think that could be possibly true? To you, Mr. Damian.
You're asking? Oh, okay, I thought you were talking to him. Well, the fact of the matter is, you know, sure, the building is owned by Amaechi. At least those are the reports we have in the public place. Nobody has denied it except some surrogates in the APC. So we continue to assume it is owned by the Minister of Transport. Now, we also do know that if the Minister of Transport did indeed lease that apartment out to somebody else, he should have come out to say so. The fact that they are not saying so leaves me, personally, to assume that that particular apartment was not leased. And now we also have, reports, of course, from Mauzo. This is not directly from Mauzo. Reports that indicate, part of Mauzo's questioning, reports that indicate that he had said that Amaechi reserved 2 apartments for himself, 7B being one of them. Now, the thing is, you have to really wonder what is going on. Now, when you have all these innuendos, and I have all these reports, and I have all these sources that are unconfirmed, it behoves the government that's conducting, if the government wanted to conduct this investigation as secret, it ought to not have revealed anything. You should have just conducted the investigation secretively. But once you have come to the public sphere and you have said that you have gotten this money stashed, and they will start, and it's 15 billion, and it's a lot of money, you now owe the public an obligation to tell us who owns that leased apartment. Now, if the government can do so, then the government itself is complicit in corruption. We have today in Nigeria, and it is sad.
Honorable Ebenezer, do you agree with him saying that the government itself is kind of exhibiting corruption based on these uncertainties?
When you say the government is exhibiting corruption, it is a blanket, speculation, and I will not give into that. I would rather say that the fight against corruption must be total. Being total in approach must be and its character. And in the presentations of to the public, it must not be ambiguous, neither wear a cloud of a kind of a mystery. That is what the government has not approached with the right attitude. And that is exactly what is leading to all manner of speculations. Most of us now, even if you listen to his comments, you will see that there are derivatives. There are derivatives because he wants so much information, but those informations are not forthcoming from the source it's supposed to come from. But we must give it to the government that this government is very determined to fight corruption. The whistleblowing paying out. It is messing up the government currently over this issue. Government is messing up itself because in another climb, 13 billion naira is enough for the president to come out and brief the nation. That is if the matter has been taken out of the hand of EFCC because of the involvement of the NIA, who they said came out to make a claim. Now, if the president don't want to speak, the presidential aide, who has the authorization of the president, must brief the nation. Democracy demands that kind of accountability from us. And the way and manner the issue is being handled, both by EFCC and the government, is antithetical to the fight against corruption. It is building a cloud of distrust about the sincerity of the fight against corruption, because if you cut 13 billion and you know this must have raised anxiety in the society, the silence of the government is provocative of Nigerians, and it is capable of, deorientating the enthusiasm of Nigerians towards supporting government anti-corruption cause. This is why we must call on the government to behave well. It is not too late. It is not late because there is all over the place. An apartment building, if you know the nature and character of apartmental building, it could be that, yes, the former chairman, PDP, owned the apartment, but somebody from here and there, you come, you purchase one, another rent one for some years, you lease for some years, another bought the other one up. That's the nature. But for the EFCC to remain mute after they had courageously resisted the intervention of the NIA to stop them, for them to have gone ahead and got this revelation to this level, it is a gross disservice to Nigeria, insulting to the sensibilities of the nation, and honestly making ourselves a ridicule before the onlooking world.
Honorable Ebenezer,
yes.
Are you also aware that the NIA, who claimed to be the owners of this money, and the FCC had done, as at yesterday, done some arrests to the rest building? Do you think that is the right approach? Don't you think that the EFCC are supposed to start investigating staff of NIA, picking them up to know whether it's true? And also, are you also aware that the CBN had come out to say that they are not aware, they didn't release such money to NIA?
Well, the medium of movement of money, particularly in a classically thievery society, how do I put it? In the cycle, particularly the cycle of officials, of government officials, the movement of money is like a river current. So the money could have been released from the CBN to an ordinary bank who decided to release it to that one, or released through any other office for that matter, where it landed at the hand of NIA. But honestly, if you ask me personally, I am not believing the NIA stories. If the NIA owned the money in that apartment that is unguided by any security to the tune of 13 billion, the DG NIA should be taken up by Mr. President for coup plotting. If I have 13 billion, I can overthrow some government. If not the government of Nigeria, some government in Africa. So, if you have such money somewhere and you had not briefed Mr. President from the day he took over, and you are coming at this level to say the former president approved it for a covert operation to dismember Nigeria, a covert operation to finance Boko Haram, or to finance Niger Delta's Avengers, a covert operation on what? We are talking here because me and you, the sovereignty of Nigeria is still there intact. But if you have this kind of a money unaccounted for in building and places and the rest of it, in those days they begged people to sponsor coup. So you don't need to beg anybody. Is the DG NIA planning a coup against the federal government? Are they at one point thinking that the government should be dismembered and dismantled? The security people cannot keep quiet over this issue. And I am not buying that NIA things. But if it is true, then the DG NIA has fundamental questions to answer. I also had a secret information that says that many officials of the NIA are living far beyond their means, that there is corruption in that establishment. And that was why Mr. Magu was so bold to resist the call not to go into that building. Just like I also have evidences in my place. You know, I am an executive secretary of Anti-Corruption Network. I have evidences of corruption against some officers in the EFCC. EFCC itself has grown to become an empire of corruption. But Magu is doing a very good work. So they must set up internal mechanism that must purge this security. Even the DSS, they are not free. Where you go and raid, there are reports that you go and raid and you find 100 million and you declare 1 million or 10 million. All of this nonsense should stop. There must be no ambiguity in the presentation of report of corruption or discover loot to the public.
It's all right. Let me put the same question to you, Mr. Damian, Dr. Damian, I beg your pardon. Now, do you think the EFCC are taking the right step, going to Bogle? Because according to information that's within our reach, they boggled Mr. Peter Obi's resident, though he later sent the keys to them and they entered in his absence because in the United States. Now, they ransacked the whole building in Ikoyi. The question is that the action, is that the step knowing that NIA had come to say this money is mine. The question is, how would a government agency as NIA, 17 billion naira, can fund 3 ministries? It can fund, it is equal to a state's some state budget for the year. So what's your take on that?
Let me respond to this, and I would take that in a minute, but I need to respond to an issue here. This is government corruption. Make no mistake about it. Now, you know, it is wrong, and we cannot get anywhere in this country when we begin to equivocate on issues of corruption. If this were a private citizen that was not a member of APC, he would be in jail under the incarceration of the EFCC and DSS. This is double standard. Now, when you find cards starched by an individual and you condemn an entire party like APC normally does say PDP is corrupt, that APC and its members loses the right to say to us that when key government agencies are involved in corruption, that we should not say that the government is corrupt. In fact, understand this. The government is an entity under the control of one person. If the president has stepped up and has done what was required and has fired members of his government that were found to be corrupt, then you would not say the government is corrupt. But when the members of the government are corrupt, and we hear nothing from the president and nothing from the presidency, they are part and parcel of the corruption. Anything else you say is insulting our intelligence. Now, the fact that EFCC does not buy the claim of the NIA, that fact alone indicates that there is something deep about corruption in the government. EFCC is a government organization. If EFCC has bought the argument from NIA that this money belonged to them, EFCC would have no reason to go to ransack other apartments in that building. The reason they are ransacking it is basically because they do not buy the NIA argument. Now, they do not buy the fact that NIA owns that money. Neither do I. Now, you have to understand that the NIA chipped in here after the fact when allegations were being made that key members of the government who are financiers of APC, the president's own political party, are the owners of this apartment. That was when it became convenient for an arm of the federal government to now kick in to try to cast shadows over a clear act of corruption. We should be very careful in this country. If we want to fight corruption, let us fight it. If we don't want to, let us stop it. You know, during the time of PDP, we were all here. Any act of corruption anywhere in the country was blamed on Jonathan. This argument that APC makes today, like you heard now, was not made then. It was said PDP was corrupt. Nobody in PDP was exempt. Now they want to start exempting people from this government. They want to exempt the government and then sort of, you know, name members of the government and exempt the government. Well, if a member of a government is corrupt, the only way the government can exempt itself is by one, firing the member, and two, prosecuting the member. If the government can do that, the government is part and parcel of the corruption. And that is the issue we have with APC. Now, my party has always said from day one that APC is a group of people that are mired in corruption because a lot of them left from PDP and other areas that were corrupt and migrated to APC and deceived Nigerians to win power. You have to ask yourself, fellow Nigerians, this question. Is it PDP as an institution, an entity that is corrupt, or the people in PDP that was corrupt? If it is the people in PDP, well, they moved to APC. Are they going to take a different character to APC? Answer is no. They will collect the corrupt character they had in PDP and take it to APC. That is why APC itself is a corrupt house. And now that Nigerians are beginning to find out that APC itself is as corrupt as PDP, if not worse, they are talking of forming another party so that they can deceive us again. Tomorrow now they form another mega party, and then they claim that mega party will also come to fight APC corruption. And it was the same members of APC and PDP that will move into this mega party. Now, let us, if we really want to fix Nigeria, let us fix Nigeria. If we don't want, let us stop insulting the intelligence of ordinary people. Now, I am certain that for EFCC to go back into that building, they had to have a court order. I mean, I am certain they would not be that stupid not to have. Initial court order probably was limited to apartment 7B. But for them to have gone back to start searching the apartment of P2B and some others, it had to be that they've gone back and provided enough evidence to a judge who said, okay, take another court order, search other places in that premises, right? And it is quite okay for them to do that. But what it tells us, essentially, is that they don't even buy the argument of their sister organization. Now, fellows, let us note this. NIA is not like EFCC. It's not an independent organization. NIA is an office in the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Let us understand that. It is an office, it's not an independent agency. It's just like an office, an arm of the President's office. So if the President's aides are not behaving properly, the President either ought to speak, or to dismiss, or to fire, and ought to have to be prosecuted before people like me will take him seriously in his so-called war against corruption.
So what's your take on what he's said so far?
I will only advise that the fight against corruption cannot be based on partisanship. The partisan sentiment must be totally removed so that we can see more clearly. Having said that, I told you that I am one of the people who from the onset did not buy the NIA claim. And again, if you look at the politics of confirm Magu, I will not confirm Magu, and that kind of a thing, you will understand that this is a system thing. The system, even in the so-called APC government now, we have many juggernauts of the PDP that are holding several positions in officialdom and things of that nature, because it has become a government. And having said that, you can see the politics. I was just reading this morning, a senator returned to Katsina and was thrown on the head because they felt he was working against the fight against the corruption of Mr. President, and yet he's from the same place with Mr. President and things of that nature. So there is no, a government is a very complex and mighty house. And in a house, you have people of different characters and interests and that kind of a thing. This kind of a thing will play out. But the way and manner the government handled it is what we are questioning here. Honestly, on daily basis, on fortnight basis, the government must speak over these things, because 13 billion is not 13 naira. And it has to do with the security of the nation, and such money can lead to this destabilization. It can go into funding of destabilization projects. So the government, maybe they are still conducting some discrete information that will enable them to come out, so that they don't come out today to say one thing or say something tomorrow. But there is a way to manage even such informations in bits, so that we do not insult the sensibilities of Nigeria, and we do not appear to the onlooking world.
Before
as
you get to that
serious.
point, I think Mr. Damian, Dr. Damian, I beg your pardon. So I think
Mr. Is okay.
Mr.
Yes.
All right. I think the EFCC, don't you think they are too loud? When they've had cases, they actually thought that because the apartment was for the former PDP chairman, they actually thought this money was his, so they came up loud. Now, do you think, or don't you think rather, that the loudness in this job is not what we expect or what it should be for the EFCC? Coming out to try to want to indict people, is it not too fresh?
Let me tell you this. You know, Oshomole, the former governor of Edo State, who is one of the president's champion in the president's anti-corruption committee, said recently that the reason that he doesn't know why this anti-corruption war, and I'm quoting the man, said, yet there is no victim. That's what he said. He used the word victim. Now, I know what he was trying to say is that they hardly get convictions, but he used the word victim. Now, you have to take people for their word. What was the mindset of the top anti-corruption personnel of this president when he calls people that have been arrested and prosecuted as victims? What's the mindset? The mindset is persecution, because victim and persecution goes together. Prosecution and victimization are not the same. They don't play on the same route. Now, the reason EFCC does what it does is because to them, anti-corruption is a propaganda. It's not a serious matter. Now, if you want to carry out an investigation, you carry out an investigation when you are certain that you have everything you need to take the person to court and you have a case that can stand the test of the judiciary. That's when you go public. Now, if you do what they normally do, which is they immediately go to press, they immediately indict somebody, they immediately make nonsense of a character, and then when they go to court, they can't even follow up with the evidence. That is why one after one after one after one of the high-profile cases are being thrown out of court, and then people say the court is corrupt. No, the court is not corrupt. When you go to court, you have to present evidence. When the judge does not see evidence, he would let the person go. And you can get evidence when you actually, first of all, make the whole thing public before you get all your facts. Once that is done, even if the people are guilty, they hide their guilt. They hide it and you can get it again. So I think this kind of anti-corruption fight based on propaganda should stop. For us to fix Nigerians' corruption issue, we should take propaganda out of it and actually let it become both a social thing and a legal thing. And that's are the two ways we can defeat corruption in Nigeria.
I think I have to come in here. I do not see it as essentially a propaganda, because today we are talking about the 13 billion, because the man who went there went with press. Whatever is the reason that made him to go there with press, it has worked out positively for Nigerians. Even tomorrow, if this administration decided not to act prudently over this issue, some administration will come and demand explanation. Where is the 13 billion? What happened to it? Who owns it? These are the beauty of all of these things. But if he has gone there secretly and found 13 billion and reported 1 billion or 2 billions and things of those things, you say, oh, you cannot totally condemn them for their approach.
Thank you very, very much.
And that kind of a thing.
We are out of time. I really appreciate you. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Damian Ogbonna and Honorable Ebenezer. It was nice having you around. This is The Current, and you can be part of this program and sending me a WhatsApp message on the number on your screen. Don't call, just send me a message and I'll respond. Then you could be part of our crew. There are other ways you could reach me through my Twitter handle, FridaOkira1, through my emails and all that. And I hope to see you by this time, same time next week, while I come your way with something more interesting than what you have. And we hope that the federal government will respond to all these issues before it gets out of hand. Thank you once more for joining us, and see you next week, same time. Bye.
Thank you.